Good morning, Stefan.
Good morning, Amy.
Hey.
Hey.
I feel like it looks really dark for me here. Is it dark?
It does. Yeah, it does. It's pretty dark.
I know it's a little earlier than normal and the sun is usually much brighter through this window, but is what it is, I guess.
It is. I am under full artificial light here.
I have light over here, a light source.
Yes.
But yeah, usually I have a pretty good balance of the two. So
Yeah, I have.
Get the dark side today.
The dark side. Welcome to the dark side.
That's right.
I am your father.
Well, how are you today?
I haven't had a long time to check in, but seems pretty good.
Yeah.
pretty jacked up.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. Holy cow. I'm I'm in get stuff done mode this morning.
All right. You've already had your coffee.
I got like a half here. I started with just a giant, I filled my coffee thermos with water today, with warm water. With warm water, because I'm going on a road trip today. Headed to California. I'm speaking at a conference tomorrow morning.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That explains why I'm getting unsolicited LinkedIn notifications. Oh, you're going to a conference. We'd love to invite you to this party.
Wait, what? You are because of me?
I think so, because are you going as Picture This Clothing?
Oh, maybe that must be why. Yeah, I think that's who it was supposed to be Coffee with Jamie, but yeah, I think they do have me listed in the bio as Picture This still, which is fine either way.
I think it's great because it's one, it shows you the persistence and the tenacity of outside salespeople.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right, of biz dev people who are like, who's this person? Who are all the people in the company? What are their most like? Where do they get our email addresses?
That's
right. And then they're sending us messages. Come to the party.
Yeah, come to I have gotten a few as well. I was just like, wait, why are they sending them to you? But yeah, that makes sense.
because our company will be at.
Yeah, that's right. Ken got some too. And yeah, he was like, oh, just in case. But most of them for like Wednesday night or whatever. I was like, ugh. But yeah, we do. My sister is coming with me. She flew in last night.
Oh,
so
nice.
We're going to road trip together. And yeah. And then it's at Disneyland. So we're going to Disney while we're there.
Dude.
Yeah. So it's super cool. I'm super excited. And yeah, so I'm in that mode. I'm kind of like, but then also, when you have to do a talk tomorrow, I'm like, how ready am I? Am I as ready as I think I'm as ready as I'm going to be, right? But at the same time, there's always like, I am always rewriting it,
Sure.
And then I always end up going back to what was already written.
Well, I think you're more ready than ever.
There's a great deal of truth in that. And I feel that in a lot of ways, like in a way that I don't think I ever have before. Like I have a calmness about going, like I'll be nervous in the morning. I'm always a little nervous, but I feel differently about it right now. I feel confident. I feel comfortable. I'm changing the format into more of a workshop rather than a talk, just to have more engagement. And I'm excited about that. And that will be different than than the way I normally deliver this talk. So I don't know, I'm excited. I'm excited on a lot of levels. So that's where my headspace today.
Well, that is one thing that being present gets us, is more room to just feel ourselves and to be calm and confident and not collect everything that we have, right? Like if we're thinking about the future, you can't really see what you have with you.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can't assess what you've brought with you into the moment.
It's true. It's very true. You just try
Yeah.
to ride with it. But yeah, it is, I'll let you finish. I'm still
Well,
formulating.
we had that, we spoke about being in nature and being of nature,
And being nature.
nature.
Yeah.
And I've since had a chance to kind of, am I really going to say marinate? I guess
It's
I
like absorb. Yeah.
but it's not the word I wanted, but I said it. So I've had a chance to marinate on this, and I have had this incredible calm with moments when I notice when I am really out of it, right? What
Yeah.
I notice now is when I'm really out of being present, when I'm thinking or worrying about, and it has to do with judgment, just trying to judge anything, trying to manage any moment, trying to have an opinion about something or someone or an interaction or what's going to happen or who am I supposed to be, or I notice that so much. It's so I could say disturbing, but it's jarring.
Yeah.
It's such a big alternative place to be in. Well, it's not alternative place to be in. I I guess it's a it's a fake place to be in, right? It's a fabricated place to be in. It's not a real place, right? I'm completely in another place thinking about what's going to happen or how am I going to do it, versus, like we talked about in our last session, arriving and being calm, clear, and confident, and not in a hurry to be anywhere else, just absorbing everything that's right around me.
Yeah.
And because I already have, in that moment, I already have everything I need for that moment.
That I love that you brought that up, because that's very much, I feel like I've got this like event. I'm going to this event. I'm excited about it. But at the same time, I've been trying to like pace myself a little bit, like just like, I don't know, like being mindful of my speed. If that makes sense. And like
Yes, absolutely.
I'm a lot more aware of it, and trying to just like I don't even know if like I keep doing this, like I'm trying to pull back or slow down, but it's not really that. It's awareness, right? It's like breathe, just breathe in the moment. You're in this moment. We walked Ernie together out at our park this morning. We went a little bit early, so it was a little darker than normal. And we knew what time we wanted to be back by, but at the same time, we didn't hurry through the walk. It was just like, it's that constant sort of checking in and going, like, I feel this moment. I'm breathing in that sky and that sky and that sky. I mean, like, I don't know. There's so much amazingness to breathe. And I'm trying to, I think, put more focus on that every breath, every moment. Yeah. Not get caught up in this. I think we used the whirlwind reference last week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel it and I see it, but I don't want to get sucked into it. I don't mind that it's there, this whirlwind. I know that it exists. It's a framework that I don't necessarily want to be a part of, though. It's a framework that I would like to how I see it, how I've been seeing it, is like my role with this company, that the stuff that I'm doing. I feel like there's a big whirlwind there, and I'm like, hey, I have tools that can help you get out of this whirlwind if you want. And I just
Yes.
every now and then poke a tool out. And
Yeah.
that's how I kind of feel. about that. And I'm loving it. I'm loving that, what that's bringing into my life and the energy that it's bringing for me. It's a revitalization that I haven't had in a while. But at the same time, I'm trying to protect, and I'm cautious at that word too. I'm trying to retain the
Cherish.
space. Yeah, retain what I've built, because what I've built is good. What I've built for myself is good, but I also know that if I just stay in one spot and be static, I won't grow. And so I'm there for growth. I'm here for growth.
Well, also, there's the illusion of staying in one spot.
That's true,
because,
right?
because we are never in one spot.
We're
Right?
never static.
Everything is dynamic. There's no, every morning we wake up is a different moment. So
It's true.
and so even the judgment of staying in one spot is illusory.
It is. And that's what this conversation does. This makes me so aware of every word I choose, because it's one of those things where I'm definitely feeling a lot, and I like being questioned and challenged to think about the words you're using, and also think about what you're feeling. Think about how you're existing in being nature.
Well, again, everything we say, everything we think is going out into the matrix, right? It's out there and it's resonating. And the more we repeat something, the more. So if I say I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck.
Right.
Even though nothing is stuck, there is nothing stuck in this dynamic universe, right? We know the Eric Idle Monty Python song, the universe is expanding at whatever miles per hour. And so lighten up. There are clouds in the sky, lighten up. Because you don't know the answer and neither do I. So meanwhile, let's just all lighten up, right?
Yeah. Just relax a little bit here. Yeah.
But nothing is static. And so the only reason we think it's static is because we say it's static.
Yeah.
And so then we limit ourselves. Otherwise, everything is moving, everything is resonating to us.
And that's it though, right? At what velocity is it moving? And
even velocity is an arbitrary concept. Time is an arbitrary concept. Velocity isn't, right? Because velocity is distance over time.
Right.
What distance is arbitrary? I mean, we measure in inches, feet, miles. We count in base 10, whereas some cultures didn't count they counted in different bases. They had different ways of even organizing the way they counted things and created numbers, and all of these things are arbitrary. What if we measured everything in light years? What if we measured everything in the scale of the Earth, or the scale of just our solar system? All of these things are arbitrary. How big is the universe? How big is your universe or my universe? All of those things, if we are nature, then we are already all of it. There's no need to measure. There's no way to measure it, because we are all of it, right? We are everything. We are Ernie.
You see Ernie here? I keep talking in my Ernie voice, but yeah. Ernie's little ears poking up in the video there. My dad used to talk about this sort of thing once in a while. And just communication as it as it applies to communication, and how cumbersome our communication method is, and words, and like that we do this because this is where we're at, sort of. But he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, but if we were in our most efficient state, we could just know without all of these words. And I was just like, wow. But I was just, my dad was a little out there, I'll say, I mean, by, the average person's standards, but he always had really interesting thoughts too, really interesting things to say. And that was always
Well,
one that stuck with me.
Well, that is the ultimate state, is knowing. It's not judging, it's knowing the truth, right? That is the ultimate spiritual state of accomplishment, is knowing, is a pure connection to what's going on without any judgment. It's a point where everything becomes non-linear, right? Because everything we do to judge and measure and predict has some kind of linear dualistic quality. I am here, I want to go there. This is that far away. I have this many days till this happens. I have this much money. I hate this person this much. I like this person that much. How much do you love me? Right? Like all of these things we measure, but there is, in the Hawkins, I just finished another Hawkins book, and there's always the thread of ultimately being connected to the truth, that there is an absolute truth, but it's non-linear. It's not to be interpreted or analyzed. It just exists. It is the truth.
Yeah.
And that is the ultimate state of knowing, where there is no judgment anymore. It's just knowing.
Yeah.
And so that is, whatever that is, however, and I'm sure now that we have broached the topic, we will have more ideas about it. But that is the place of being completely present and without this, without the ego, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the ego is what wants to do all the judging and figuring.
Yeah. And interestingly, since we've started these conversations, this is a judgment that's happening, I think, in my mind, but it's something that I guess I have a different awareness of now, since we started these conversations. And what it is encounters with other people and the topics of conversation that come up. I often find myself, how do I even say this? Because this is it's very judgy in a way, right? It's like, well, this isn't interesting to me, so I'm gonna move on. But I don't mean it I don't know how I mean it. It's just one of those things where, like, my mind checks in and then it checks right out, and I move on. And if the conversation isn't engaging in, I guess, this sort of way, like, I love this topics. I love these topics. I love, again, I reference Ken all the time, because Ken is just a constant mill of ideas. And, I have this idea, or if we've encountered some sort of challenge somewhere along the way, a sticking point, we've run into some little bumps in our path. Like, he'll be like, I was thinking about that, and I thought, boom, and he'll have 100 ideas, about, like, or we could do this, or we could do that, or his idea will, spark something in my brain that, this is how picture this, we talked about picture this, or this is how picture this was born, right? Like, we had this experience with Zia where she drew a thing, and then I made it real, and then, her joy of experiencing wearing her creation. So there's just this magnetic idea, almost like popcorn kernels popping. Their ideas
Yes.
just going boo, 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 and one bounces off another, and then it becomes this bigger thing. And those are very stimulating and very exciting. And if that's not there, I find myself wanting to move on quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Well,
very judgmental, isn't it? I mean,
well, it could be very judgmental, I guess, but it seems what you are using to navigate is joy.
very much so. Yeah.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
this is what this is one thing that I noticed in when I was climbing. I've had so many things here. I've had, because of this moment we talked about last week of being nature, of this moment of sailing where I was in the moment, and it was
Yeah.
so, I've repeated that story in my mind to just understand it a little better, how it applies. And I told the story. My buddy said, how was your weekend?" And I go, "I don't know. I hardly remember any of it, other than I had this afternoon of sailing that was sublime." And I started describing it. And he's a bicycle racer and a climber, so he's had these kind of flow athletic
Yeah.
experiences, as we all have had. If we've been an athlete and pushed ourselves, we've everybody's, I would say that almost every athlete has had some version of what they could call a flow experience, where they're just in the zone and doing. And I started describing it to him, and I saw how he lit up, like he understood how awesome that was.
Yeah.
And then everything else we talk about beyond that was, we understood it was kind of mundane after that.
See,
Right?
that's where,
It's just kind of mundane, because it didn't, everything else is just, you're talking about the past, or it wasn't this, we were sharing this experience of like a really high moment, a really incredible moment of awareness and joy. And it, like, well, like I said, there wasn't joy in it, right? Like, it was beyond joy, right? It wasn't, there wasn't an emotion even that I could judge. It was just, everything was there, like the entire world was there and I was in it. That
you
was
were
it.
it. You were it.
I
And
was, yeah, I was in it. And then everything else beyond that is mundane, is just us trying to capture it, understand it, perpetuate it, open up to it, or do things that are mundane or rote or habituated, or say we're stuck, but we're not stuck, right?
right.
That is also an illusory concept. No one is stuck, because everything is dynamic. The entire universe, everything happening around us is dynamic. We are breathing different air. We are smelling different things. We are eating different molecules of, even if we're eating the same toast every morning, it is different molecules from a
It's different
different grain,
toast.
from a
Yeah.
different part of the country, right? Baked on a different day with different water and
Yeah.
different yeast and all of these things. Every single little molecule is vibrating in a different way. And I love that your dad had a sense of this knowing, because that is that that place is a place of knowing, where you don't, like, I didn't need any more information to operate. I didn't need to judge it. and even knowing, even using the word place of knowing, it's limiting,
Mhm.
right? Because it's beyond, it's even beyond knowing. It's just it just is. It just, you, right? Now we're stumbling because we've run out of words. And I noticed in this, the Hawkins book, he describes what happens at different stages of spiritual evolution, and how even these concepts at different stages, people will describe them or understand them differently.
Yeah.
And at lower stages, there is no understanding of these concepts because people are still stuck in this linear way of thinking and
Right.
judging.
They're in the framework.
They're
In
they are in a framework, and at each level, those frameworks might expand, and then at some point there is no framework at all, and that might, in your dad's words, that might be the place, that place of knowing where the framework doesn't obscure, right? You're in the forest, but you're not looking at the trees anymore. You're looking at everything. You're seeing through the trees. You're
I love,
everything.
I have to say this because it so relates, but like on our walk in the darkness, you could see the sun rising. Like, so normally on our walks, it's pretty daylight. The sun's coming up, but it's pretty daylight. So you see everything around you, right? But
Yeah.
today, because it was extra dark, we could see through the darkness of the trees into the negative space between them and the
Oh,
whole world beyond the trees. And just, I mean, on one side, we could see the city lights of Las Vegas way off in the distance, and they were beautiful, you know. And then we round the bend a little bit, and we're in a more forested area. And through the trees, we see the sun coming up, and the skies are blue and purple and orange and absolutely magical. And like, but and I made that comment. I was like, oh, look, you can see, you know, between the negative space of the trees is the world, is everything, you know. And Ken was like, oh, I never looked at it that way before. And it was just, it was such a magical feeling, right? That was, anyway, I didn't mean to, but that one little
well,
piece of
yeah.
what you said, you know, was I was like, yeah, we just felt that. And it's been man, I have a lot to process here. It's
Yeah, yeah, we do.
in some of what you were saying though too is with the frameworks and being stuck and all of these places that I feel like I don't know, I don't want to say left, I've left them behind. I certainly, like, I still float through all of these places, but I'm so excited and that's not even the right word. That's such an underwhelming word for what I feel in my brain is like what do you even, like, boiling water? I don't know. Like there's just like, I feel like my brain is like popcorn. We use that, or boiling water or
Mhm.
something with curiosity for
Mhm.
what unfolds next. Like and again, this is like trying to apply a sequence of events almost, which I don't really want to do. I just want to keep experiencing and existing in this space more and more and more and more. And wow, I guess that's it. That's all I've got for this moment. Like,
Well,
ooh.
well, what I learned through Hawkins recently is that there is no sequence. It is very different for everyone, and also it's unpredictable. There may be moments of great revelation, and then there may be moments of great quiet, I guess, or where you might feel like that the popcorn isn't popping, or the
And maybe
whatever.
that's totally okay, right? Like
Well, it has to be okay because that's all you got.
It's true.
If it's
It's
not
true.
okay, you're being cruel to yourself, right? Like you have to decide. That's another mental discipline is you have to, no matter what's happening, you have to decide that that's what you got and it's okay,
I have a
right? Like it's,
question for you. Do you meditate, like in the traditional sense? Do you do meditation?
no, I do not meditate in the traditional sense. I did a long time ago when Kate was a little girl. So let's 30 years ago, when my life was much more chaotic and much more stressed. I would meditate and I found it very useful early in the morning. And, but I have rock climbing, I have sailing, I have these things that they are meditations in and of themselves, even they are,
Right, right.
right? Like your
Running was
walk,
always that. Yeah.
you know,
Running,
your
walking, biking. Yeah.
running, walking, those are, and I don't, I guess when I was younger, it was harder to sit and meditate because we are, right? Because I felt I should be doing something. I
Yeah.
don't have that feeling that I need to be doing something all the time. And even the meditation is a doing something, it's not a being. Although meditation can get us to the being, right? All of these things are tricks. I would say that I have arrived in these states just organically through the things that happen in my life, whether it's sailing. And we talked about that shift the other day. When I went sailing, normally I have the Ernie Esteban leash at the door excitement of let's go for the walk, let's go for the sail, let's go. The wind's really good. Let's go. Come on, let's go.
It's time, it's time, it's time.
I'm waiting for you guys. You know,
Uh,
but I didn't. That morning that I had that sublime hour and a half of sailing in our little dinghy Francis, I didn't have any of that. I wasn't in a hurry. Didn't care. It's not that I consciously didn't care. It just, there was no hurry. Hurry didn't exist. I was just like, gonna go get the sails, gonna go rig the boat, gonna grab the life vest, gonna attach the rudder, just do the things that I just very methodically do it. I'm gonna untie the lines, I'm gonna shove myself off and then have the wind carry me away from the dock. And it was all the things that I know how to do. There was no question, no uncertainty, nothing existed but the things that I know or need to do to get that boat out there, sit down, and start sailing. And so that lack of urgency brought me into the moment because I didn't care about, even in the most minuscule way, I didn't care about any other moment. And it wasn't pushing any other moment away. I wasn't pushing anything away. I wasn't going, I got to get away from
yeah,
my
no,
day because my day was
this
just
was your day.
fine. My
Yeah.
day was the day that I was having. So there was no pushing, there was no pulling, there was no other moment. And I just jumped aboard and did all, and I think this is also the thing that mastery brings us when we do anything really well. We disconnect our mind from what we're doing, right? So that is its own meditation, whether it's martial arts, right? Once you learn a kata,
Hmm. Yep.
it becomes automatic. And so you can perform it without being self-conscious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And the same with, you know, if you're mountain biking, doing some downhill mountain biking, and if you run a particular course over and
Yeah.
over, there's a point which that just becomes automatic. So any of these levels of mastery become their own meditative space.
You know, did
It's
I tell
just
you
by default.
about like, so bike riding, something that I love, but
Mm-hmm.
hadn't done for, okay, so as a kid, BMX raced, used to
I
ride all
know.
over the desert and all of that. And then around my, I don't know, 19 through 24, ages 19 through 24, mountain bike racing and just riding, a lot of riding and whatnot. And then um I moved back to Las Vegas and it was like I just hung up my bike. It was like my spouse at the time didn't ride and didn't really have any interest in riding. And I just, my bike sat in the garage. And then 20 years, I sold it I ended up selling it in a garage sale probably 10 years ago. But I had that bike. That was my first mountain bike, the first thing that I bought with my own money that it actually cost more than my first car. But I loved that mountain bike, right? It was like this
Yes.
specialized A1, whatever. Anyway, it was a good bike. Anyway, so like 20 years passed, right? And then last year, Ken's friend got him out on an e mountain bike. And he was just over the moon about it, right? Like he's like, I can't ride, my knees hurt, all the time. And his friend was like, try the e-bike, just try the e-mountain bike. And he comes back and he's just ecstatic. He's like, I could ride. It didn't hurt my knees. There's a little something extra there in case you can't get up that hill. You feel bionic. And he's
Yeah.
like, you got to try it. You got to try it. And in my mind, I was like, my biking days are over. I haven't ridden in 20 years. You want to get me out on a trail? I'm in my late 40s. I'm just like all of these
Oh
things
man, you were
piled
limiting
up.
yourself.
I really was. And I was kind of like unenthusiastic about it. But every time he'd ride for like 3 months, every time he'd ride and come back, he was just, I mean, radiating this enthusiasm, right? And I was like, okay, I got to give
How
him
could
at
you
least
not want to
once.
go?
Right. And he's like, just once, just give me just once. And so I was like, all right, I will do this once for you. And then I'll probably never go again. But I went and Stefan, let me tell you, I got out on that trail and it was like that feeling had never left. When I started pedaling, it was like I was 8 years old on a BMX ride again. And my heart soared and I rode that trail. Like you would be very impressed with this trail. This trail we went and rode out at Red Rock. It's called the Landmine Trail. It's a pretty, good trail. It's not for the weak-hearted. I didn't wreck not once. I just took these things in my mind. I was like, you know what? Ken wouldn't take me on it if he thought I was gonna hurt myself. So just trust. And I trusted and I let go. And I rode and I rode and I rode and I just had the time of my life. And then I was ready to go again and again and again. And Ken actually, they had a shoulder injury, so we stopped riding. And I really don't enjoy riding by myself for safety reasons, but so yeah, I haven't been riding, but just 2 nights ago, I actually went out to the BMX pump track, which I've never ridden a pump track before.
Oh
So
yeah.
I got myself a little BMX bike, like the old days, no e-power, just a good old pedal power. And I took Z out there with me and she's never even been on a BMX bike before, right? And I was like, let's just ride this pump track. And we did it. And like, I know that the pump track is all about the physics of moving your body. You shouldn't have to pedal, not
Mhm.
once, to get your around a pump track. That's the whole deal. And it started off, and I had a couple pedals in there and then I felt it and I felt the rhythm and I was like, it started going too fast for my own comfort. And I had to, whoa, okay. I had to kind of like regroup. And at the top of the other side, I made it all the way to one side. And then I was like, okay, let's do it again. And then I did it and I found my rhythm again. And then I gave it to Z, and Z just hopped right on. First time on a BMX bike on a pump track, right? And she just beautifully flies through this. I was like, she was born to do this. She was born to do this. And then she wants to do it again. And we did it until it was too dark to see. And then we rode back. But it was just those letting go of the things that you think you can't do and just trying in order to move beyond this space you think you're in. I don't know. I feel like there's just something there in that. I hope that wasn't too much of a derail from what you were saying, but
No, it's exactly on point, because it's also about letting your heart navigate, right? Your heart told you something that your mind was trying to suppress, basically.
it was. And once you just like get out of your own way, and I do feel like this is something I am, it's a thing that I have to remind myself every now and then. Get out of your own way, Jamie. Stopping yourself.
Well, that's the other thing that I think that's another illusion, is you aren't in your own way. It's not you that is in the way. It is you holding on to things that prevent you from seeing the path.
Yeah.
So it's a subtle twist of what you're saying. It's like, you are not in the way, right? Like it's not you're
that
not
I'm physically, yeah.
you're not a villain that's in your own path. You're just somebody who's holding, your ego is just holding on to things that are in the way of you seeing and feeling the more that is available to you. And I love, the neat thing is I love that Zia was out there and she already had all the epigenetic matter that she needed to be a whiz on the pump track, right?
Yeah, it was just amazing.
It's just built into her. And all you need to do is just encourage it a little bit. And then there's something that she can also find joy in the same way that when you were young, you found joy in it. And in the same way that almost every young kid, that's a tautology, tautological. Every kid, when we get our first bicycle, I remember buying my first bicycle. I wasn't allowed to have a bicycle where we grew up in New York because my dad thought it was too dangerous to ride a bicycle around. And but once I had that $112 saved up for the Schwinn Varsity, my orange Schwinn Varsity bike, I went to the Schwinn store and I bought it because my friend Richie had the Schwinn Continental, but the Continentals were yellow. I wanted the orange.
Nice.
The Varsity was one, just, I think, well, maybe the Varsity was $109 and the Continental was $112 because it had center pull brakes on it. And the Varsity had side pull brakes, but essentially they were the same bike, just orange and yellow. So I got the orange one so I could ride with my pal Richie, or be like my pal Richie.
I love it.
But the joy that I had, the freedom that I had in mastering the bicycle was incredible. And because it gave me that taste of freedom from my family and independence and being out in the world in a new way under my own power. And I could ride to other neighborhoods. I could ride from New York to New Jersey. I would show up at Richie's house in New Jersey, even though it was, who knows, maybe it was 5 miles. It wasn't very far. Maybe it was 10 miles at the most. But I would ride there. And I would ride there of my own accord because I remember how, and I was just, maybe I was 12, but I could ride there because I remember the drive. Like I could remember the roads from the driving there. So I would
Yeah.
just take the same roads. And
Wow.
then my mom would get a call from my Aunt Rose, because that's the house where Richie was the eldest son of my Aunt Rose. And my Aunt Rose wasn't really an aunt, but she was part of the German community. So we called all those women and all the men aunts and uncles. They were all
Yeah.
just aunts and uncles. She calls up my mom and says, "Your son is here." What should I do with him?
That's so great.
I just want to let you know your son is here in case you think
He's
he's
here.
missing.
He's
He's here at
alive.
our house now.
We used to have that in our
In New
neighborhood.
Jersey.
Wow.
He's in New
It's
Jersey.
like, what? How do you get all the way out there? Oh, I love it. I love it.
But to go back to Zia and this joy is, at that moment, you are reconnecting with your heart's ability to navigate. And the mind and the ego are what are creating, are obscuring these things. It's not that you are in your own way. It's just that your ego is concerned with other things. And when your ego is concerned with other things, your heart is down here going, "Hey, but wait, like you're not, you're just, whoa, you're distracted. You're not listening to me. I am connected to all of this. I know what's up. Hello." Right. And so when you go on your walk, you connect with your greater nature.
Yeah.
When you're mountain biking, you connect with your greater nature. And when you express your greater nature, this is the thing that I noticed when I told the story about sailing, and also when you're telling the story about mountain biking and your walk this morning, is that it resonates. It's so, because your heart is fully in it, and it resonates everything around. So I get that high, right? I get that buzz. I'm getting that energy. It's activating all the other heart-centered moments that are analogous moments that I have had in my life. It's activating them. And then it's creating, then it's stirring up memories. And so then we are discussing these memories. And so then we have positive judgments about it, and then it feeds on itself, right? And so this is how we create. Everything we create is this process. It's just that when there's so much joy and it's so perfectly heart-centered, it's like it's turbocharged.
Yeah.
Right. And so Ken went out mountain biking, and he could feel it. He could feel how awesome it was. And he knew that was something in you, and he could project it, and kept pushing until your heart finally said, "Oh," your heart's down here going, "He's talking about something that I love,
You
and
can
I'm so
do
good
this.
at it."
Yeah, we can do this. And
I'm so good at this, and my heart loves this mountain biking. And then you take your daughter out and you share just a tiny bit of your love and passion for mountain biking and this BMX riding, which is, you started. It was like the heyday, right? It was like,
oh man, 1982,
right?
like 1981. Yeah, I mean, and my first BMX bike, since we were on that, my brother made for me out of parts from his, like he'd built his own, from he had one, and then when you get into anything, you start taking on, you put adding new components, and the thing really building it custom, and so he had all these other bike parts. And my first bike was pink with a banana seat and a basket, and the big old handlebars and the little dangly ribbons off the handlebars. So that was my first bike. And my brothers, I grew up in the desert here in Vegas. And my brother, I was one of two girls, and there were like 8 boys that, all. My closest friend was a kid 2 years younger than me who went on, actually inspired by my brother and his BMX leadership, to be an X Games guy. He's now the host of The Challenge, the TV show.
Wow.
But he was a BMX, like famous X Gamer BMX guy, but he was the kid from the neighborhood. But yeah, all of us started riding together. My brother was like, you can't ride that with us, your pink basket bike. Like, let me get you. So for my birthday one year, he had built a bike for me. I still remember redline forks, torquer frame. That's all I remember. But silver and blue, and the forks were actually like a spray painted red or something. But he built like a treasure map for me for my birthday, and he gave me the envelope with it in it, and I had to go on this little find, and it was under a blanket in the garage. And that was my first BMX bike, and what a cool thing. And I always struggled to keep up with him and his friends. Always. I was never very fast. But I loved trying to keep up with the boys. Yeah.
Wow, there's so many great things in there, especially the design of the actual, like that your brother actually made you work for the
the little treasure hunt with the little dots.
The treasure hunt.
Like
how creative.
Very cool. And I mean, those were great memories for sure. These are.
Yeah, in the 70s, we took those. We would go to the dump because there were always bicycles at the dump.
Oh wow!
Right? This is, and so collecting forks and frames and
brake lines and anything still good.
Well, there were no. These were all coaster brake bikes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true. I think Richie had an orange crate, or a, you know what I'm talking about, the Schwinn with a 5-speed shifter.
Heck yeah, that's pretty cool.
That'd just take out your, like if you slipped and fell off the banana seat on that and it hit the shifter, it would just take your manhood out. I'm sure the lawyers quashed all the orange crates and all of those Schwinn bikes got put to rest by injury attorneys. But we would take those, and then we would cut the forks and make choppers.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
But really long choppers. Like we would stack them. You'd have the forks go, the way the forks normally go. But then what you do is you chop a set of forks and then chop the tips off, and then you jam them on and then drill them and put a bolt in. And then you'd have the second set going in the opposite direction. And then you put a third set on there going in the normal direction again. And so you would have this S-curve chopper.
That's awesome.
Front end. Yeah. Wow. Super dangerous, right? Yeah. Super wobbly, super no structural integrity, because they weren't welded. They were just, actually, we would ride them even before we would drill and bolt them together, because you could just jam them together just to check it out.
This is a little bit of a derail, but speaking of dangerous but amazing, there's a YouTuber that Ken introduced me to. His name is Sam Pilgrim, and you can look him up on YouTube. Sam Pilgrim. He's a BMX and / mountain biker, but one of the most optimistic spirits I've ever seen. Just positive energy all the time, and he experiments. He and his brother build different things, and dude, it's just amazing. They did an experiment where they filled their tires with Monster energy drink and rode the track to see. They just try amazing things, and they put wagon wheels on a bike and rode the track. Just anything that you can think of. They tried different I just watched one last night where they tried lowering the tire pressure to how low can we go and still ride? Like there's
Oh,
a
geez.
25 psi. Here's what it looks like, and they have their little cameras mounted to their helmets. I mean, they're just yeah. Sam Pilgrim is the name, and he's just absolutely a ball of energy, and I just love him. I love his channel. I haven't seen one that I don't enjoy. They're fantastic if you're curious, but it's just that sort of just experimental nature, and then
Yeah.
always positive. You know, even through like he's had some pretty good injuries, and he's just positive always. I'm just going to keep trying things and doing things, and I love it. It's really inspiring. So a little bit of a side nook there, but somebody
Well,
I feel is living his best life for sure.
for sure. Well, it reminds me of the other reason, one of the other things that was at Richie's house in New Jersey, besides making choppers, was a ping pong table.
Oh, nice.
And we put the ping pong table out in the middle of the street. It was like a legit competition ping pong table.
That's awesome. Out in the street.
On the street.
I love that.
Because otherwise it was in the garage. Normally it was in the garage, but there were some times where I remember it being out in the middle of the street where we would make the choppers, and then they had, we didn't have soda at our house. Soda was really like for special occasions, like occasionally get a pizza or to get a pizza from a pizza joint. And then we'd get a big bottle of Coca-Cola or something, have Coca-Cola and pizza. But otherwise there was no soda at our, but Mountain Dew. And I didn't know Mountain Dew had caffeine in it, like not double the caffeine of Coca-Cola.
Yeah, right.
And so we were out there, we'd be out there playing ping pong, drinking Mountain Dew for hours.
I love
until
that.
everything burned out.
That was Dr. Pepper we had a lot of Kool-Aid though. We didn't keep a lot of soda until I was older. My mom had a special fridge for her soda because it was such a rarity for her as a kid. So that was her, like, I've finally made it in life. I have my own refrigerator of Pepsi. That was her sort of like thing. And people loved coming to our house because we always had soda. And she would always be like, yes, help yourselves. But Kool-Aid was the thing when we were younger. Like I loved Kool-Aid and Tang, those powdered sugar drinks.
Yeah.
Those are such magical. We get the Kool-Aid mustache going, and man, we loved our Kool-Aid from the Tupperware cup. Yeah, man, good memories.
Yeah, I mean, these are the simple things that kind of activate joy, open up the heart, and then lead us to the next good thing.
Yep.
Right.
And I know I'd ask
Kool-Aid.
about Kool-Aid. I'd ask. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it. Bursting through the wall. Oh man, I love Kool-Aid, man. We used to save the points, and I remember my sister and I we're on so many memories today. My sister and I saved enough Kool-Aid points that we each got a Kool-Aid fanny pack with our Kool-Aid points, and it was amazing. And then we also got a Kool-Aid Man Atari game that you could only get through the Kool-Aid points. It was not available without the points.
Wow, that's legit.
I have that one mounted on my wall.
That was I was early 70s where Kool-Aid came in, where I occasionally have Kool-Aid, but Kool-Aid wasn't that big.
My dad, another dad story. He said that they had it in Vietnam, but they called it warmish because they couldn't keep it cool. They didn't have ice. So he was like, oh, we called that warmish. So I was like, wow. Another little side note. It's all about my dad today. Oh man. Oh, and Ernie poking up. Hi. Oh. Well, I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
This all started with your dad's concept of knowing, which is pretty much that is the ultimate state of, according to Hawkins, is that is the ultimate state, and in that state of pure knowingness, and there is no more linear judgment, right? There's no more good, bad. It just is. Everything is
I
in that state of isness,
Yeah.
and absolute knowing. That is the place where there is no need to be even in this world anymore, right? And that's where the mystic or the guru needs to make the decision to, how am I going to operate in this world now? What am I, then there's just the pure karmic path of, what am I doing? What do I have to offer? Do I even need to be here? And some of the things that he describes in these stages are, sometimes there's an urge not even to be, or I guess I can't call it an urge, but there's no need to even be around other humans, right? He describes a period where he just went away to upstate New York for 7 years, and he just meditated and did his own thing. And this was somebody who had the largest psychiatry practice in the United States, where they had thousands and thousands of, they had dozens of clinics, thousands of clients, and hundreds of psychiatric practitioners all over the US practicing these methods that he had developed for getting people out of addiction, and a lot of these were love and heart-based type therapies. But there was a point in his own spiritual evolution where he just went away, because there was no, as you stated at the beginning, it's like there was no interest in the mundane anymore.
Yeah.
So then what is there? And when I read the story, I could feel my ego being afraid of, like, oh my God, you mean like there's going to be a point where I give all of this up, or I don't care about it, and I can feel it, that a lot of things aren't important anymore, especially mundane kind of conversations, and they aren't important. So then what is important? Creating something, connecting with my heart, being, what are it's the scale of my spiritual ambition, allowing my heart to follow its spiritual, or its, let's say, its natural course or ambition, makes the rest of me afraid for the unknown of, well, if this, like, even getting my car back from the after a month, which I love my car, I love driving, I love even my car, I get in it, I don't even really know it or care much about it.
Yeah.
Right. It's a very nice conveyance.
Yeah.
It's but it's also a burden, right? Like, I got to take care of it. I got to put fuel
like
in it.
being
Got to clean it. It's like all of these.
Yeah. Weighed down by the material pieces that aren't absolutely necessary, really. And it is interesting. I feel the more comfortable I feel with what I've created for myself, the more I'm drawn toward service, right? Trying to share what I know, what I've learned, what I've experienced with others. And it's funny to come at it from where I feel like I'm at. I don't even know how to say this. I feel like it's funny, like this work that I'm doing, right? Like I'm doing this work, which I really love, which comes pretty, like the other day I've been just kind of trying to absorb everything, take it all in so that I can then kick butt and move forward, right? And I had a good kick butt breakthrough moment the other day in this gig, and it was like one of those where I was like, okay, like I know, like, this is why I'm here. This is what I bring to the table. And yet I feel like, oh gosh, this sounds so egotistical. I'll just say without worry. All right, ego or not. I feel like the people around me perceive me as like, oh, there's a new person working with the HR team, and their perception of that is like, oh, a lady, HR lady. I don't know what that means, but I'm like, I bring so much experience to the table. I'm really freaking good at what I do. And
I'm a fucking wizard, motherfuckers.
and I just wanted to say, I felt that, I've felt that, people go, oh, isn't that cute or whatever. And then you like rock something and they go, oh, oh, and then you
Yeah.
have their attention, right? Like I feel like I got their attention the other day, and it was really good feeling, really good feeling. And yeah, at the same time, you gotta, I want to check myself and my humility too, right? Like I know I'm good at what I do. I think confidence is okay. There's a reason I do what I love doing, and I've gravitated constantly toward that, right? Like I could not do it for quite some time, financially speaking. Okay, there. But I love doing I love doing this. And I feel like there's opportunity to learn some new angles by working specifically with an HR team. I'm not an HR backgrounded person, so I'm learning some new things, new ways of thinking, new ways that they do things. And yet they're open-minded enough to say, we want someone like you to come help us do this, solve this problem, and or this challenge. And so we're collaborating like we're on fire, and it's great in a good, the best possible way. And anyway, like, yeah, I had a really good moment like that like 2 days ago. And I was just like, yeah, this is why you brought me in. Right here.
Yeah. Well, our egos do want approval, right? We
Yeah.
want acknowledgement. We want approval. We, we want control, and we also want security, right? We want all of those things. But if we are connected to our heart and we are exercising that, which we know inside of us, that's inside of us, then that will resonate with other people more than the I'm a fucking wizard.
Well, and that's, I think that's where I was trying to go with that. And I kind of lost track of my point, but the ego part, like there's an exercise of humility here that I think that I'm due, right? Like yes, I'm good at what I do, but also, can I serve in humility? Can I provide this service humbly? And yeah, and that's it. Like that's where I feel like is a challenge for, and like I don't think I'm all throwing ego around all the time. That's not usually my speed. But like at the same time, like in my mind, sometimes I'm like, you know who you're talking to? Like, yeah, I know I've done this
Yeah.
before. Yes, I have. But it's I want to approach it without that thought. I don't want that thought playing in my mind. I want to just relax and do what I'm good at, be graceful. I want to incorporate an element of grace, I think, that I haven't had before. And
Yeah.
and to grow in that way. So that's where I guess going back to when you were talking about, sort of a fear of like, is this what happens next? Is this what I have to look forward to or whatever? And, I think we're probably in different places in this experience, right? We're different beings with different experiences and all of that. But
Well,
yeah, that's
right now we are in the same exact place.
we are.
We
Yes,
are
we are.
right now. We are in the same exact place, which is here.
here right now,
Nothing else, nothing.
which is,
Yeah. We're in the
you know,
same,
which
and
is,
it's the only reason we're having this discussion is
yeah,
because we are in the same place in this exchange is happening out of humility because I don't know what we're getting at. I don't,
yeah.
we didn't put the whole reason of the Unconstrained podcast is we didn't put a constraint on it.
It's very
And
true.
we keep arriving here, and in my mind it keeps getting better. We keep going deeper, or we keep expanding our understanding of who we are and what we want and what we are experiencing in life. And the the even the judgment of who's further along or where or what places we are in is pointless, because the only place we are in is this
Is here.
place right now. We're doing this. And sure, we're doing some time travel, we're recounting stories, but ultimately that is bringing us back to this place where our hearts are engaged and we're going, yeah.
Yeah. I do love that. So there's I don't even know if cadence is the right word, but I do feel like as you described it, every like we're either going deeper or expanding out further, and there is like a shift to how the energy of each of these conversations goes. And I love how it does seem to perpetually expand in all directions, you know. I enjoy that very much.
Well, the word, humility is one of the core, I guess, states of a spiritual seeker, right?
Yeah,
Like you have to
absolutely.
go into your spiritual growth process with humility, because we are trying to learn about that which we don't know, right? We
Yeah,
are, right? Like the reason we come into this process is because we don't know
yeah,
what's,
yeah,
we don't know what's there. And all that is there is already in us. So then how do we better connect to it, right? Like it's all available to us. We are nature.
yeah. It's like an ongoing expansion of perspective, like,
Mhm.
yeah,
I
widening of
like, I
perspective.
like the word cadence
Yeah,
a lot, because
yeah.
the cadence will change, the cadence, but again, even cadence is a construct,
Hmm.
right?
That's exactly, I was like, I'm hesitant. Uh, you know,
But cadence,
here's what's funny that goes back to that first thing that I said about my dad was talking about the words, right? How our words actually get in the way because we're trying to define it, we're trying to package these feelings with these words that communicate some semblance of what's going on, but words are so limiting. Like there's just a feeling and a knowing that it is happening. And so choosing a word like cadence even feels so limiting to what
yes,
is happening, to what is this experience is.
yes, yeah. And then I keep going back to when I told the story about sailing to my climbing buddy. I just saw how it lit him up. Like he was lit, like he got it.
Yeah.
He could feel it. And it transcended all the other mundane conversations we have ever had. And I thought, how many mundane conversations have we had about stuff that were just to get through the moments between climbing, right? Like just
Right.
mundane conversations. Not that any of those were bad or good or anything. They were just mundane. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I did this and we went out. And
Yeah.
there was no heart. There was very little heart connected to it. It was just like, that's what I did this weekend. Yeah, I went into the office, and I don't really like my corporate, I'm not really into my corporate gig. And then I think, well, I don't really know much about corporate gigs because I've always just been, on the fringes of corporate
Yeah.
stuff, right?
I
Like
drop in.
I drop in. I
So
drop
wave my wizard
in.
wand. This what you're saying actually presents a question in my mind is there, beauty's where you find it, right? Like,
Mhm.
is there more to embrace in the mundane? Or do you, I find myself more and more deflected by what I consider mundane, but is there something to consider in pausing with the mundane and giving it gratitude and grace? Not saying that we're not doing that, but like,
Well, I would say that that we can bring our heart and love. Again, mundane is a judgment.
exactly, right? And I
It's
think
a linear construct. And if I am truly in that moment with my friend, then it doesn't matter what comes out of his
exactly.
mouth.
It's just
I can
this.
love him, I can appreciate him. And I really did that moment where I saw him light up, I really did. And recently he's told me some stories about his own expeditions climbing in South America, and he's had a hip replacement. He's younger than me. He's maybe in his early 50s, so maybe 10 years younger, but he's already had a hip replacement, and that he can't really do kind of extreme, like climbing 16, 17,000 foot
Yeah.
peaks in South America. He's not going to be doing that anymore, but he's a decent rock climber. And so I really have started to just appreciate him. Like, he's a guy who's willing to hang out with me, and then we're climbing and it's easy and he's competent, and right. So the mundane doesn't even matter, because the way I've switched, or the way I view him, is as I am grateful to have this new friend who I can climb with and enjoy. And talking about the mundane is just a part of, it's just a part of what happens. I don't need to put any value on it.
Yeah.
And then I can still appreciate and if that person, I guess what I saw is that I could communicate beyond the mundane, right? Like we had a moment
Yeah.
where it was beyond mundane. And so that moment of our hearts connecting, that will change the mundane. That will
It does.
that there will be less mundane. There might be less verbal interaction altogether, right? Or the level of our interaction will be different, or the level of our appreciation. But something has changed in that relationship. Is it me? Is it him? I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
It
just
doesn't
that there was
matter. It's just
some
that
magic happened.
it's just that I am much more in the moment. And again, in the last 2 days, since the last time, I've been climbing twice since the last time we had our last session. And I have completed 4 new routes. These are in the gym, but they are definitely at the top of my ability. But I have put them all together. I've completed these routes, and I'm climbing at a level that I have not climbed at, let's say, in 30 years, maybe.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm I'm heavier. I'm not the prototypical. Well, I've never was the prototypical rock climber, because I'm a little tall for that. but I'm definitely a lot heavier. So I have to have a lot more muscle to,
Yeah.
especially when things get beyond vertical, when they get overhanging.
Yeah. Holy cow.
But my level of climbing has gone up. My level of belief in my ability to climb has improved, and my level of concern for how well I'm climbing has decreased, right? Like I'm just like, okay, let's see how I do,
Yeah.
right? It's not like, oh, I'm training to get to this level or this level. It's just, there's a constant curiosity. Well, I did that. Let's see if I can do this, or let's see if I can do this. And then let's see if it's very open now. There is no urgency. It's just a curiosity to see how well can this 61-year-old vehicle climb.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
curiosity. How long can I keep it up? And I have great examples. I have my friend Chuck, who's 65, who's climbing at levels that 99% of all climbers in the world would be astounded by. I mean, no one his age has ever climbed as hard as he has. So I guess at his age, he's the best in the world.
That's awesome.
And so he's out there, and I'm like, whoa. And he works at it all the time. So I know there's a huge, in climbing, as in BMX riding or any other
Or
sport,
anything.
there's always
Yeah.
more, right?
There's always better
more.
to become.
And so in the same way, we are approaching this spiritual project here. This is a spiritual project with humility and saying, all right, let's see where we can go. Let's see how far we can take it.
Yep. That's it. That's it. I feel
How far can we take this spiritual journey?
Yeah, let's find out.
And
Let's
I'm
find
just
out.
amazed because you have the foundation. The thing is your dad already created this foundation, right? Like he installed these nuggets in you,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like whatever his experience was, like he had to have some very incredible experiences during the war, right, in Vietnam, but he resolved them in a way probably that probably not a lot of other people were able to resolve. Like something in your dad was able to, like whatever his level of curiosity or self-awareness was high enough that he could come up with these things that are really high.
Yeah.
Is the only way. They're very high.
Yeah.
It's the only, and even just you describing the way your brother fabricated, he didn't just fabricate a present for you, he fabricated an experience to lead you to a moment, right, that led to even greater moments on the bicycle. And so these are very high heart-centered concepts, and they're beautiful, and they're very moving, right? Like you can feel it. And
Absolutely.
so even I really appreciate your dad and your brother, right? Like I can feel it, right? It's beautiful.
It is. It definitely is.
And so you have that, right? Like that stuff, that ability to open the heart, that was already installed a long time ago. That's why you have so much ability to experience joy.
That's
Right?
really
Because
awesome. Thank you.
yeah,
I mean, it's something I have
because
recognized on my own.
yeah, because you have these tricksters. You actually had these tricksters in your life that in a very short amount of time installed something really great. Like they put this in you, right? Like they
So it's like incubating.
dosed you with this, right? Like this is like you got dosed with something, and because of this kind of freedom in the desert girl, like I felt like I had to fight for some of these freedoms, but I did have great, even at 12, I had some, because of my parents didn't necessarily know how to manage us. I had great, and because I had initiative, I had great freedom
Yeah.
in ways. Once I had my bicycle and I could ride to New Jersey from New York, those 10 miles.
That's so amazing.
Actually, we lived on the New Jersey border. We lived 300 feet away from New Jersey. So it was just like I could walk to New Jersey.
Technically, but the 10-mile
Technically,
ride, that's
it's a
something.
10-mile ride.
Man.
So that is super beautiful, right? Like that you have a framework, you have uncovered a framework that led you to this moment, right? Like your 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 dad and your brother actually put these little dots out. They put these little dots out on the horizon, and now here we are, and we're starting to connect them, right,
Yeah.
into a much larger view of the universe, right?
Yeah.
They're still communicating, right? Like everything your dad did and everything your brother did is still communicating, and now it's communicating to me too, right? It's
Yeah,
all
definitely.
it's all communicating without regard for time or distance or any of it.
Yeah, I think that's quite deep
Yeah, thank you.
and moving. Thank you.
Yeah, it's super moving. It's a great moment, right? It's super cool moment.
Just breathing it in. Really.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah, I
there's
don't know
no
where to
other.
go from there. I feel like
No, I
it's,
think we have arrived at a beautiful moment of gratitude and grace and humility.
yeah,
I mean, those, I mean,
and
I think that,
expanse.
yeah, I'm going to write all. So we have gratitude, grace, humility, and expansion.
And a whole bunch of Ernie hair.
A whole bunch of
I'm like, I'm covered in Ernie hair. um, Stefan,
yeah,
thank you so much. Like, this is going to be
Jamie.
great because now I get to go see my sister, and
Wow.
it's just us. We're the last two of
Yeah.
our immediate family, and we don't get to see each other very often. So it's been a while, and yeah, I'm gonna go on a road trip with my sister.
How cool. You can take your buzz with you,
Yeah,
your
yep,
sister. And look, your brother, your brother and your dad are coming along.
and my mom.
And your mom,
We
yeah.
didn't touch on my mom very much, but boy, is she ever in the picture for sure
Yeah.
in all the best ways. I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. All of it exists. All of it,
I feel like
all of
I've like,
this.
whew, I feel like I just went on a really hard run, sort of like in, that
We
feeling of
did.
like,
We
yeah,
definitely, yeah, this was an emotional and a spiritual, heart-centered workout.
yeah, it was. We were good at a good
Yeah.
mental workout here. Oh, I like that. All right, Stefan, I am gonna close out with extreme gratitude. Thank you for always doing this with me. So, we'll do it
Thank
again.
you. Yeah. thank you for doing this with me. This is a guaranteed joy in my every week.
Mine
And
too.
I love that we just don't know where we're going to go or where we're going to end up.
Yeah, we got to give Ken a shout out for being like, you guys should just do this regularly.
Yeah, well, Ken deserves shout outs for all kinds of
He does.
little things.
He really does.
He's a trickster of the highest order.
He really is. All right, Stefan. Well, until our next amazing conversation, take care and have some amazing experiences
All right,
with
thank
no
you, Jamie.
expectation.
Cheers to you.
Bye.
Bye bye.